Okay, chapter 2, lesson 3. I'm go ahead and take the time to do the homework check and turn it in. And today we're going to be solving multi-step equations. So my first question here is, what are consecutive integers? And consecutive integers, so consecutive means in order. And remember, integers are positive and negative whole numbers. So we add that together, we would put positive or negative whole numbers in order. So like 5, 6, 7, or -2, -1, 0. So in the word problems we're going to be dealing with is they're going to ask you for unknown consecutive integers that are adding up to a certain amount. And so if we don't know the first integer, we would give it x. And then if we need the next one and we have to only still use one variable, we would do x plus 1. So like if this was 5, then in order to get 6, I would do 5 plus 1. In order to do 7, I would do x plus 2, and then x plus 3, x plus 4, x plus 5. So if it asks you to sum up two unknown integers, okay, then we would use x plus 1, two unknowns to equal a number. The tricky part would say, what if it wants odd integers? Well, if this is 5 and it wants the next odd one, we would skip and do this one, because this would be like 5, 6, 7. Skip, that's 8, and do 9. And it would just keep going with the pattern. Okay, we also need to remember our 4 rules for solving, because we're doing solving like we did last time, except for we're adding a couple steps now instead of just doing one step. So the first thing we're always going to look for is there any distribute? There's not going to be today, but there will be on tomorrow's lesson. Combining like terms, we'll have that when we get to the word problems. Then you look for any addition, subtraction, and finally look for any multiplication or division. So number 1 here, we have 5x plus 3 is set equal to 23, and I need to solve that. So I ask myself, is there any distribute? No, there's not. Any combined like terms? No, there's not. Addition or subtraction? Yes, there is. So right here with my x, I see there's a plus 3. So my opposite then would be to minus 3. Whatever I do to one side, I must do to the other. So that gives me 5x equals 20. And then I need to solve for x again. And so rule number 4 says, is there any multiply or divide? Yes, there is. It's being times by 5. The opposite would be to divide both sides by 5. And x equals 4. Number 6 here, the same thing. There's no distribute. There's no combined like terms. Addition or subtraction, we're going to subtract 6 to both sides. So then 5x equals, and we'll type in negative 29 minus 6 gives me negative 35. Divide by 5 on each side. X is negative 7. On number 7 here, there's no distribute. There's no combined like terms. So I'm going to add 8 to start. That gives me x divided by 3 equals 6. X is being divided by 3, so the opposite would be to times by 3 on both sides. Those would cancel out. And so x is 18. On number 10, there's no distribute. There's no combined like terms. So add or subtract, I'm going to subtract 12. Now on this one with the first fraction here, remember we took a note yesterday that says that the negative belongs with the number, not with the variable. And so I'm going to put that negative down with my 6 when I rewrite that left side of the equation. Then I have negative 7 minus 12 is negative 19. I have x divided by negative 6 right now, so my opposite would be to times by negative 6 on both sides. And then negative 19 times negative 6 is 114. Number 13, our first step here would be to add 7. And because I have this 3/4 as a fraction, I'm going to put it in parentheses so that I remember to do that in my calculator. And then I have a times by x to equal 15. So right now 3/4 is being times by x, and so my opposite would be to divide both sides by 3/4. And 15 divided by 3/4 is 20. On number 16, same thing here. I would subtract 2 to both sides. So 4/5 in parentheses times x equals 4. Divide both sides by parentheses 4/5. And x is 5. This number 27 in the middle here is actually a rule breaker. So normally we would do addition, subtraction before we do multiplication or division. Now my problem is there's more than one thing in the numerator up here, so it gets a set of parentheses. So that x minus 5 is actually together. And so this one is the only rule breaker. So if there's any addition or subtraction in the numerator, the first thing you're going to have to do is times by 4 on both sides. So that would leave me with x minus 5 equals 12. Add 5 to both sides, and you get 17. Same thing on number 18. It's a rule breaker. So the first thing I'm going to do is times by 3 on both sides. 2 times 3 is 6. So x plus 1 equals 6. Then x equals 5. On these word problems, first we're going to write the equation, and then we're going to go ahead and solve it. So number 19 says twice a number plus 4. Twice means 2 times. So 2 times x plus 4 equals 6. What is the number? Subtract 4 to both sides. So 2x equals 2. Divide each side by 2, and x equals 1. Number 10 says 16 is, so 16 equals 7 plus 3 times the number, so 7 plus 3x. Subtract 7 to both sides, which gives me 9, equals 3x. Divide by 3, and x equals 3. On 21, it says find 2 consecutive integers, so we go back to our notes up here, where it says the first integer is x, and the second integer is x plus 1. And when we add those together, it says it should be 35. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky because we don't have any distribute, but we do, however, have a combined like terms. So over here, if I look on the left side, I actually have 2x and then plus 1 equals 35. Subtract 1, so 2x equals 34. Divide by 2, so x is 17. And it wants both numbers, so if the first one is 17, the second one is 18. On number 22, it wants 3 consecutive integers who equal 36. So I put 3 lines down, so I remember that there's 3. So I use x plus 1, and x plus 2. And then it says there's sum, so I put pluses in between them. So this time there's no distribute. When I go to combine like terms, I have 3x plus 3 other equal to 36. Subtract 3 to both sides, so 3x equals 33. Divide by 3, which is 11, 12, and 13. Number 26 here. After Ricardo received his allowance for the week, he went to the mall with some friends. He spent half, so I'm going to put it as 1/2 in a fraction, of, which means times, his allowance on a new paperback book. If we look at the question, it says, how much was his allowance? I know that the allowance is going to be the x here. It says, then he bought himself. So if I'm buying something, it takes away money. And he bought $1.25 worth of snacks. When he got home, he had $5 left. So we're going to equal it to 5. How much was his allowance, or solve for x? First thing is we're going to add 125 to both sides. So I'm going to have half x equals 625. Divide each side by half in parentheses. And so x is 1250 for his allowance. And there's a lesson.